Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the MPAKT Podcast. I'm your host, LBJ, or Leonard Blair Jr. Today, I'm really excited to introduce y'all to Domonique Green. Domonique Green is the creative director at DG Creative Agency, full cycle creative agency managing everything from digital and social media marketing, branding, media kit development, videography, photography, graphic design, audio engineering, website design, and a bunch more. Yeah, Domonique, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling energized. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Like I said, I'm super excited to interview you. When we got connected, just right away, I was like, this young lady is doing some amazing things. So I can't wait to learn more. Just high level, Domonique is an HU grad. And when I say HU, I mean Howard University. She's a young entrepreneur. I mean, recently graduated, serial entrepreneur. So she's created several companies. And also she's a Forbes the Culture member, which is, I think, a really awesome achievement for being so young. So congrats to you, Domonique. But so the people can get to know you, tell me a bit about where you're from.
Yes. So I am from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, which nobody knows about. So it's absolutely okay. It's like the smallest city ever, but it's actually
I was going to ask,
capital.
where in Pennsylvania is that? I've never.
Look, it's the capital of Pennsylvania, and nobody ever knows about it. It's in between Philly and Pittsburgh. But
Okay.
It's such an interesting place. It's predominantly Black, Hispanic, and Asian, actually.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a bit of a small melting pot. Lots of things going on, lots of creatives actually out of Harrisburg, which a lot of people don't know about. There's also like a lot of celebrities that I won't call out that are actually from Harrisburg, but talk about them being from Philly. You know, they don't want to claim us, which is crazy. But yeah, that's where I'm from.
Okay, awesome. What was childhood like growing up in Harrisburg?
Yeah, childhood was actually super amazing,
Yeah.
which a lot of people don't have the pleasure of saying, so I'm really honored and blessed to be able to say that I had such an amazing childhood. I have
That's
two
awesome.
older brothers. I'm the youngest of three. And my father, he works in like IT and tech, and then my mom is really involved in like community engagement and higher education. So I kind of like have both of their brains together, which is awesome. But growing up in Harrisburg, of course, like there's a lot of crime that happens. So, you know, you have to navigate that. But I mean, outside of that part, you know, it's such a community-based city. So we're so like connected to one another. Everyone knows one another. So even though I don't live there anymore, I could go back to the grocery store and it's the same people I would have saw when I was like 9.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So they're like, oh my gosh, you're back. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm a college graduate now. You haven't seen me since I was 5. But yeah, childhood was awesome. I loved it. I had so much creative freedom. My parents really allowed me to explore a lot of different things. My brothers always made fun of me, but you know, that's just a typical thing. But yeah, I mean, all in all, it was awesome. I loved it.
That's great. So I'm in tech myself. And tech is like a pretty young sector. So like I think Google wasn't founded until like the mid to late 90s. So pretty young sector. Like what was it like being in the household? You mentioned your dad was in IT and tech. Like when you were growing up, like what was that like? Because for me, that was not at all my experience. When I told my parents I was in tech, they're like, "Oh, so you fix computers?" And I was like, "No, that's not what I do."
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, having my dad in tech, I thought that he was like the tech superhero. Like that was the coolest thing to me. I remember I got my first desktop computer and it had like a butt in the back. It was a Dell desktop and I couldn't get it on the Wi-Fi. So I called my dad. I was like, the Wi-Fi is not working. I can't figure it out. And he did the thing where like you can remotely manage someone's computer. And I was like, yo, what is this? Like, this is amazing.
How old were you at the time?
Oh man, I couldn't even remember. I had to be younger than 10. I might have been 10 or 9.
Yeah.
So it was such an eye-opening experience to have my dad have so much experience in tech. He taught me like Photoshop, like got me introduced to that, which is kind of how I ended up getting into the creative scene. But it was cool. Like, I'd be like, Dad, do you have an external hard drive I can have? And he would just bring one. He's like, yeah, I had this in my closet. I'm like, okay, Mr. Internet tech guy, like, cool. But it was so cool because it introduced me to so many different things, to so many different parts of the internet, to so many different programs and platforms. So I feel like I learned so much just by having him, you know, around all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did you mentioned he got you Photoshop like at a young age. So that seems like it was kind of sowing some of those seeds. Did you do anything entrepreneurial as a kid? Like even like I would say even like specifically, maybe I'm asking two questions. One, did you do anything entrepreneurial? But two, did you do anything entrepreneurial like related to the creative space? So
yeah, it's really interesting. My parents always call me like insane because I would always come up with random ideas. And I know the very first like business I tried to have was a nail salon out of my bedroom. And I was like, Mom, I'm gonna have people book with me, and then after school, like they'll come to my bedroom and I'll paint their nails.
How old are you at the time?
Oh man, I had to be like 7. I was really, really bad at doing nails and everything. And she was just like, okay, but how about we start with family and friends? So like family and friends would come over and I'm painting the nails. Terrible job. Like the worst manicure I could have ever done in my life. But they would be like, oh, Tom, you did so great. Like, this is amazing. But that was like my first, like, I guess, idea. But the first business that I actually came up with was with two childhood friends. It was James and Amira. They were brother and sister, and we loved lemonade. And we wanted to make our own lemonade stand, like our own lemonade, you know, line. And it was called Jamirmo. So the J was for James, the Mir was for Amira, and then the Mo was for me because people called me Damo when I was little.
That's great, Jamirmo. I love that.
So that was like our idea. And I remember there was this company, and I'm pretty sure it's still around, called Do Something. And Do Something had like these really cool conferences in New York. And one day my dad actually drove me to New York to be a part of this conference. And I'm pretty sure I was like 9 or 10 at the time. And we're in the first session. In the first 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then 10 minutes later, me and my dad are both knocked out, like just sleep. And it was like, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I'm 9. I don't know what these big terms they're using. We didn't even stay for the whole thing. I was like, Dad, like, let's go to the Pop-Tart factory. We went to Times Square. We went and got some custom Pop-Tarts and then went home after that. But that was like the two businesses that I came up with like during elementary school.
Yeah, so I love that. It seems like your parents like really supportive of like your entrepreneurship, like sowing that seed really, really early on. That's awesome. So when did you get the idea? Or matter of fact, I'm gonna take a step back. Let's kind of continue on that line. Why Howard? What made you go to Howard?
That's such an interesting story. So in high school, I was very, very involved in theater, and the theater program, the dance program, and the criminal justice club. Those are 3 programs I was always involved in. And throughout high school, though, I really thought I was going to go to college and become either a neurosurgeon or a cardiovascular surgeon. So that was my idea.
I thought I was going to go to college to be a pastor, and here I am working at tech. So, like,
right, like things change. And I loved Grey's Anatomy. That's what it was. Like Grey's Anatomy really convinced me that I could be a surgeon, even though I'm super, super emotional. I would not be able to handle that. But it got down to senior year. And I was actually taking anatomy and physiology as my final science, and I loved it. I enjoyed it. My teacher was also, even though she was a full-time teacher at the high school, she was a full-time surgeon at the local hospital.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So she would like go and work at the hospital, get off work, sleep for 2 hours, and then come to the high school and then teach us. And it was like a continuous cycle.
Wow.
And she even brought us like the stuff that she learned in college. That's what we were learning from for our anatomy class. And she was an awesome teacher. I loved her very much, but she was very transparent. And she was saying how like, because of her schedule, you know, she can't really have the family that she wants to have. And even
Yeah.
if she did have that family, she couldn't be there for them the way she wanted to. She
Right.
couldn't really explore all the things in life she wanted to, because her life was then dedicated to serving other people and helping them and fixing them.
Yeah.
And while that's a blessing, it's also like, dang, you know, I can't experience those things for myself. And
Yeah.
I had to think about those things. Like at the time, I didn't like kids, but I knew at some point, like I would want
Yeah.
kids and a
Yeah.
family and be able to travel and explore. So at that point, I kind of had a reality check. I was like, okay, Dom, senior year of high school, you should not go to school for science. Don't do it. I was bad at chemistry and biology, so I'm not even sure how I thought I was going to do this. And I was like, okay, what's something that you're really, really good at already and that you
Yeah.
can continue to grow from? And it was design.
And how long have you been doing design up until this point?
I had been doing it for about 6 years already, because I started in middle school. Yeah.
So you came into college like 6 years of this already under your belt. That's amazing.
All from YouTube. I never took an art class or anything like that prior to college. It was all YouTube. And my I think freshman year of high school, I actually launched a online boutique with one of my closest friends, Trinette, at the time.
Yeah.
And we made like comical things. I made necklaces with celebrity faces, pillowcases with celebrity faces, like all that type of stuff.
That's awesome.
We would sell out all the time. It was such a fun thing to do. And that's when I really, you know, started exploring DIY and, you know, that creative scene. So from there, I was like, okay, like there will be times in high school, I remember this girl walked up to me in high school and handed me $40 and said, I need you to make this sweatshirt for me. And I was like, okay, like, I don't really know, but okay. But
that's great.
At that point, you know, I was realizing I've been doing design forever in everything that I do, you know, whether it was videography work, photography, graphic design, website design, I had been doing it. And I was like, you know, I want to go to school for that. I want to learn more. I was not very confident graduating high school. I had a 3.78 GPA, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to get into any college. Like that was my mindset. So
I worked in college admissions for a couple years. So like to hear this, I'm like, what? Like, of course, like you're good. I
was so nervous. I applied to about granted, I had the fee waiver, so I didn't have to worry about the application fee.
Right.
But I applied to at least 35 universities, and there was a point in time my high school
all for graphic design, by the way.
Yeah, it was. It was all for design.
That's amazing. Yeah.
My counselor in high school pulled me out of class and said, Dom, like, can you stop? Because I keep getting the emails and I need you to stop. And I was like, okay, but I'm not going to get in, so I need to keep going. And at that same time, my laptop was stolen and I lost my entire portfolio, everything. I wasn't really hip to like Google Drive or things like that at this point. So I didn't have it backed up anywhere. And I was so nervous. I was super, super nervous at that point because I'm like, I don't even have work.
Your dad's probably at home like, I told you 4 years ago to start using Google Drive.
Exactly. My dad's like, yo, get it together. And I was applying to like, my mother worked so we ended up moving to Houston, Texas, like when I was around like 12.
Okay, yeah.
And my mother worked full-time at Prairie View A&M. So that was my first introduction to HBCUs. Yeah. So when I was applying to colleges, I was like, ooh, I want to be around some Black people. Like, I want to be around more of them. And even though I applied to a few HBCUs, but I also applied to a few PWIs as well. Yeah. And I actually committed to Texas A&M University Corpus Christi campus.
Yeah.
I had my roommate. I had my dorm. I was ready to go.
So you were there, basically.
I was there. Like, I was so excited because Corpus Christi is the only university in the U.S. that's on its own island. So my dorm had like beach waves crashing at the window. Like, I was ready. Okay, I knew I had my bikinis ready. All my swimsuits were lined up, ready to go. And then it was exactly a month after that commitment day, I got an email from Howard. And I stared at it. I said, well, I got to go to DC. Like, I was like, I don't know what I got to do to get there, but I was getting there. I called my mom because my dad had paid all my college stuff for me. So I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I got in at Howard. Like, I want to go to Howard. She was like, no, this don't got nothing to do with me. Call your father. I was like, oh. So I called my dad. My dad was still living in Pennsylvania at the time.
Yeah.
So I called my dad. I was like, Dad, like, I just got to Howard. I know you paid for all this, but I kind of want to go there. And he's like, well, where's Howard at? I was like, it's in DC. He was like, oh, that's closer to me. Okay. Like, I did it. I was like, cool. So I had never stepped foot on that campus, never toured the campus.
Oh,
never
you had visited nothing.
No, I had been to DC multiple times, but only near the monuments. I never been on that side of DC.
Right.
So my first time on campus was freshman moving day. And I was like, you know what? This better work. This better be the best campus ever, because I can't go anywhere else. But that's how I ended up there.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So when did you get the idea for DG Creative Agency?
Yeah.
Were you still in college or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, kind of yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in college, I explored a lot of things, and I had started a different company called Paper Tag, and Paper Tag was a online media outlet for underground artists. I love music, and I love listening to underground artists. And
I love that.
No shade to them, but I don't like the Shade Room. I don't like Hollywood Unlocked. I don't like those type of platforms.
I understand. Yeah.
Because, they always paint us in this negative light. They always talk about the negatives and not the positive. And I wanted to talk about the positive.
Yeah.
And while that was an amazing experience, I got to connect with so many artists. It does not generate money, and it takes a lot of money to run it. And I couldn't continue with it. So I had to pause on it.
Yeah.
So I graduate, from Howard. I studied fine arts. I got my degree in electronic studio. So that's doing everything digital. So web design, photo, video, even video game design. I got
that's awesome.
Ceramics and all that types of stuff. I was really bad at ceramics and painting, but I took the classes. But that's what my background was in. And once I graduated, you have this high expectation. I had so much on my resume by that point. I'd worked with Gucci, I worked with the Pulitzer Center, I worked with Tinder, I've worked with the Smithsonian African American.
Is this all through
Museum.
Howard, or is this like some of the work you were already doing before college, or?
I just found internships, online, like through Handshake. I found opportunities and just took them. So I had this long rap sheet, and I graduated, and nobody wanted me. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I did not work this hard for 4 years for all of y'all to say no. But that was the reality.
You already had the resume to back you up. Yeah, that's crazy.
Exactly. And the biggest part of that was I graduated during the height of the pandemic. So that also, altered my job search. So I ended up working at the Apple store in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., which was probably one of my favorite jobs. I had the time of my life at that store. But it got to a point where I was like, this is not my purpose. This is not what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to help people, and more specifically, I'm meant to help Black people. So, I had this idea. I was like, I want to start doing design freelance, but I didn't really know how I was going to do it. And I remember it was about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, and my manager or whoever.
Thanksgiving of what year?
This was Thanksgiving of 2021. So the same year that I graduated.
Okay.
2 weeks before, my time off request got rejected for Thanksgiving. I had already bought my flight to visit my family. And I was like, oh, I'm going to quit. I have no plan. I have no backup plan. I don't have any money saved up, but you're not going to stop me from seeing my family from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quit, and then I'll figure it out later.
And this is why you're at Apple at this point.
Yes, I was at Apple at this point. So I quit Apple. I go visit my family for Thanksgiving, and while I'm there, I'm like, all right, like, I gotta pay rent. Like, I don't know what I'm about to do. I'm happy to see all this stuff, but
does your family know that you quit or no?
Oh yeah, I told my mom like the day of. I was like, Mom, like, I just quit my job. Like, don't be mad at me, but I quit. I gotta figure something out. And she's like, are you kidding me? But my parents are always supportive, even with the most outlandish ideas that I have. So it was okay. So while there, I started developing my plan to do freelance work on my own. And I ended up booking my first contract. It was like a $2,000 video project. And I was so excited because I'm like, $2,000, like I'm balling. Like, you can't tell me nothing. And it was so well, and they ended up referring me. So I did another video project. And then at that point, I had so many referrals that I couldn't say yes to everyone because I was just one person.
Wow.
So February of 2022 comes, I'm like, okay.
So when this first, I don't want to jump. That's really cool.
Of course.
So this first video project, one, like, how did you get that first lead? Like, two, like, how? Yeah, like, what was that process like? Like, what's the timeline here? Like, so you quit in November. Is this like around Christmas or?
Yes, this is it's actually before Christmas.
Okay,
So I'm in a sorority called Iota Phi Lambda Sorority Incorporated. It's the first Greek business organization for Black women. So it's all Black women who are interested in entrepreneurship and becoming more professional individuals.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
So once everybody knew I quit my job, and once December rolls around, one of my sorority sisters is like, "Hey," she was a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated as well. She said, "We need a video project to be shot. I think it was for their Founders Day. Can you come do it? It's in Baltimore." I'm like, "Look, I'm broke. I can come do it. Like, there's no.
I got nothing else to do at this point.
I got rent to pay. At that point, I had just adopted a cat. My cat needed litter and some food. Like, I had to figure something out. So that's kind of like how that happened. And then the same chapter of AKA, they asked me to do another project in January. And then one of their members referred me to do another video project for the Links Incorporated. And the Links Incorporated is like attached to AKA, but it's also attached to like some of the other Divine Nine organizations as well. So that's kind of how that happened. So it was like in December and January, I had a lot going on. And I was actually really scared in January because I was like, I don't think I can make rent for next month. Like, I was like, I don't book another project. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm a Leo. I don't like asking for help or money. Like, I need to figure this out on my own. So, thankfully I had so many referrals coming in, and I was like, okay, I can't say yes to everybody, but I have a lot of friends who are creatives. So let me tap, into them, see if they can help out. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'll just open a creative agency and then have everybody on my team, and then we can all work together on all of these contracts. So February 24th of last year, so our 1-year anniversary is actually in a few days. So February 24th.
February 24th?
Yes, that's in 2 days.
Yeah. Okay, congratulations to y'all.
Thanks.
Yes, that's amazing.
So, February 24th last year, I officially announced, I was acting as a creative agency. And it was such an awesome, experience. And then March comes around, we're fully booked the entire month. It was only about 5 of us on the team at that point, but we had so many projects within that month that we were already booked out. And then from there, it just continued. And I continued to add more people, add more people to my team to take on more contracts. And it's kind of been insane. It's been crazy.
Yes. Also, I went on your website and looked at your team, and your team is like almost all people of color, which is absolutely amazing. like I told you, I'm in tech, which is like 2% Black. So I went on your team and I was like, what? Like, this is phenomenal. That's awesome.
Yeah. I try to keep it that way. Like, I want the whole, purpose of the agency is we specialize in working with small Black owned businesses. We open our virtual doors, to everyone, but that's what we specialize in because, you can reach out to an agency to help you with your brand, but your target audience most of the time is going to be other Black individuals and people who don't look like us don't really know how to communicate with us. So that's kind of the whole purpose of that team being developed with all people of color.
Yeah. So that's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're saying like, it's really intentional to have a team because it speaks to your audience.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
beautiful. That's beautiful. So how did you, I know you mentioned like a lot of people were friends and within your network already, but like, how did you begin to like actually scale a team? Like what I like, where I'm asking that from is from a place of, I think a lot of businesses struggle to like take it from being a solopreneur to I have these people who are either contracted with me, like are full employees or part, like a lot of people struggle from getting from that solopreneur stage to I actually have a team of people and we're scaling this together. Like you are basically in full startup phase. Like
Yeah.
like how do you get there?
Man, it's insane. Honestly, a lot of it is just blessing because I've done up to this point, I have not done any paid advertising, any paid marketing. Everything
Wow,
has been solely word of mouth.
that's amazing.
When it came to adding people to my team, of course, like I'd post on my personal Instagram story, like, hey, like, does anybody do web design? Because I have this contract and I need another web designer and I can't do it by myself. So it was like a lot of moments like that. But it also came down to like LinkedIn. I ended up making a job listing on LinkedIn just looking for freelance creatives,
Wow.
which is good and bad because it was an easy apply. And when it's an easy apply, you know, people
You're gonna
are
get a
just
million applications.
they're like, you know, scientists submitting to become a graphic designer. And I'm like, yo, like, I don't think this is what you want to do for real.
Yeah.
But I took a lot from that. So I did have a couple of decent applicants from that. And my whole process with that is like, I'm not going to put you through no crazy interview process, no 13, 14 rounds. If you submit the link to your portfolio and I like the work that's from it, I'm going to schedule a call for you. And the call isn't like an interview where I'm like drilling you. It's like, okay, this is what you like. Is this like the field that you're interested in? Are you interested in other mediums of art? Or are you interested in getting experience here and here? And we just have like a regular discussion. There's been times where I've got on like Zoom calls and I have my bonnet on still, and I'm like, I'm just letting you know, like this is how I am. Like we don't have to do this whole.
That's amazing. I
we
love
can
this.
just have a conversation. So or sometimes like I got my Telfar do-rag, like I have my Telfar do-rag on and I'm like, look, I just got up, you know, I kind of woke up late, but I'm here. And I want you to know that this is how I operate. So you don't have to worry about acting like someone that you're not, or, you know, code switching. We have to code switch so much every single day. And it's so tiring. So that's kind of like how I developed the team. And then, you know, from their experiences, they would tap into their friends like, oh, like, do you need a contract? You want to get more experience? Reach out here. So it's like continuing that word of mouth marketing.
That's amazing. So y'all are approaching 1 year. What is the next, year 2 look like for you?
Oh, year 2 is going to be such an interesting experience. So we just did a video shoot this past Saturday for our 1 year anniversary, kind of just highlighting all the things that we've done and, you know, highlighting some of our clients and having our clients, you know, involved in that process as well. So that will be released on the 24th. So I'm really excited for everyone to see that. But as far as how our growth will work, I'm just hoping to be able to help more people, more clients. And I know a lot of times people are like, oh, like we want to make more money, which is cool. But like, I feel like when you're doing something that you're passionate about, that's not at the top of your concerns. Like revenue is never a concern for me. It's just how many more people can I help? How many more small businesses can I, you know, and increase their online presence, help with their branding, do video projects or do audio engineering for. So that's really the goal with that. But I also want to start doing more in-person events. I want to do, you know, host like Black pop-up shops and have different, you know, companies come in and, you know,
sell. You're in Chicago. Let me know about those, please.
Look, I got you. I'm gonna let you know as soon as I do it. But yeah, like that's really the goal, is just to reach more people and to help more people in as many ways as I can. I've been doing a lot more public speaking engagements. I just booked one with like University of Wisconsin to talk about kind of how to be diverse when it comes to your social media presence and like the importance of that. So talking about that more, talking to young people more about the journey to entrepreneurship and how it's not as hard as it's made to seem. I think a lot of times they're like, yeah, you need to get like a venture capitalist and have this amount of money. And I'm like, yo, like I started with $100 in my savings account. Okay, I didn't have nothing. I spent the last penny I had and opened a website and kind of went from there. So I just love to be able to inform people more, educate people more, and help people. I've always been, you know, really transparent about that. I'm not a gatekeeper at all. If you want to see what my contract looks like, I'll show you. I can walk you through it, help you out. But yeah, I just want to reach as many people as I can in this next year.
I love that. I love that. So like, I love what you just said about venture capital too. Like, as you know, like I'm actively a venture fellow, like going, like connecting companies to venture capitalists.
Right.
And like, one of the things that keeps coming to my mind is like, every company doesn't need a VC. Like a lot of businesses, I think, are so focused on scaling as fast as you can, getting as big as you can to then like ultimately reach this like somewhat mythical payout moment, you know, when every business doesn't need that. Like it makes a ton of sense for some companies to generate their own revenue because you don't need a VC coming in and telling you need to do this, or like you're breaching the terms of our contract because we need to get a payout. Like that's not necessary. So I love that you said that. That's awesome. So another thing you mentioned there, you mentioned that you started with like $100. Like what, for someone who wants to create a creative agency, like how do they begin that? Because that's not my area of expertise. I don't know. I would love to hear like, how do you start a creative agency?
So me and Wix are besties. I love Wix. Every time I get a client who wants a website, I'm like, yeah, we're doing it through Wix. And that's the option. That's the only option you have because it's such an inclusive platform. It has everything you need in one setting, and they always have sales going on. They always have discounts. They always have sales. So typically, like if you were to start a website with all the things you need as an agency through Wix, it would probably cost you like $300. And it covers like the whole first year. But when I started, since it was during a sale, I think it was like $150-ish. So I was able to pay for my entire year. I already had web design experience, so I just built my own website. I didn't have to, reach out to anybody to build it for me. Started my Instagram. I didn't even start a new Instagram. I took my freelance Instagram account and just switched the name over so I could keep my followers. And just started like, I made like archived all the posts and I was like now announcing Dom's creative agency. And everybody was like, what is this? How do I already follow it? I'm like, I was not starting a new page. I was not starting over. So that's like how I got to that point, just building the online presence. And then from there, like I said before, my parents are super, super, super supportive. Like in everything that I do, I could tell them that I want to make a line of socks for your big toe, and they'd be like, okay, like I guess. So when I presented the idea to them, they were like, oh, like you actually know how to do that. So we're actually really excited about this one. So they shared it. Like great. They shared it with their friends. My mother is a very, very popular public speaker. She does a lot of speaking engagement at large conferences. She works for multiple universities. So when I let her know about it, she's sharing it on her socials with her coworkers. Like I said, my dad works in IT, so he's sharing with his friends and coworkers and things. I told my grandma about it, but she don't know what I'm talking about. So she was just like, okay, like I'll support it. I don't know how I can, but I will. But and even my brothers, like, even though they look at me like the little infant, they always share my stuff as well. So it was just as long as, once I got everything set up, once I had the website ready and the socials ready, and I sent all that information to my family, to my friends, and to my sorority sisters. And between the three, like, they circulated it as much as they could and pubbed as much as they could. And then it just happened. Like, honestly, like I said before, it's really just a blessing because I didn't have to invest any more money. Like, part of that is because I had the experience and knowledge myself on, creating my own logo and branding and the website and the socials. And then from there, it was just word of mouth. Like, people were just talking about me. And I'm like, ooh, I feel, important and special because everybody's talking about me. And, people are following. And, even if they didn't have the funds to invest in the service that I was offering, at least they, kept up with me. They either subscribe to the newsletter or follow me on social. So that's kind of how I started it. I use HoneyBook to keep track of all my clients and do client communications. HoneyBook has pre-made templates for designers, which is or pre-made contracts for designers, which was super helpful because I know nothing about legal stuff. So
so you were like good to go at that, like right away.
Exactly. Like, I had to do very minor tweaks to it, but like everything is there for me. And then I use Novo, which is an online bank for small businesses. Connect HoneyBook and Novo together, and you have literally Jesus Christ. So it was just amazing. Everything was just super seamless for me at that point.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I've absolutely loved every minute of this. Where can people find you? Where can people, like, I'll link your website and all the socials down, of course, but like to hear you say them, where can people find you? How can they get in touch? And more specifically, like, how can other small businesses begin to work with you?
Of course, if you want to find me online because you like me so much, my website is dgcreativeagency.com. Our Instagram is DomGCA. And then we're on LinkedIn and Facebook as DomG Creative Agency. If you would like to inquire about our services, just visit our website at dgcreativeagency.com and fill out our contact sheet, and we will be in contact ASAP, like literally in 5 seconds. You'll hear from us.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dom. I truly appreciate you even like taking the time to be on a small but growing podcast like mine. I'm ultra excited for you, but also I'm gonna need to bring you back on at some point in order to get an update to hear how the company's going a little bit down the line. So thank you again.
Of course, I love to talk, so I'll be back. I can run my mouth for a minute.